Hey everybody, welcome back to Mask of the Slasher. We are on episode 34. Woo! Yeah.
Numbers with no significance.
Yes. Yeah, it really doesn't matter. We decided because, well, it's summer break. It's not summer yet, but it's almost summer. And because school is out, we decided to go with a hot theme. Hot and a summer school kind of theme, you know, and a situation. So we decided, and by the way, just so you know, we did try to do this before.
Yes.
And our microphones took a crap.
The great lost episode of Mask of the Slasher.
Yeah, it would have been like a silent movie episode. It would have been really horrible because I would have had to type it all up.
Yeah.
So we decided to redo it.
Yes.
And that was many months ago that happened. We were so bummed about it.
We were devastated by the loss of that episode because it was a good one, let me tell you.
It was good. Just for us, though. Yeah. So, anyway, what we're doing today is the tried and true classic. Yeah. The 1974 movie of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just like on Josh's shirt.
That's right.
It was produced by Tobe Hooper.
Yeah. Let's talk about the story of this shirt. I found this shirt at Ross because, obviously, if you could tell by my glasses, I like obnoxiously bright colored things. And I was like, oh, an obnoxiously bright colored Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt. Well, I bought this shirt and then not long after discovered why this shirt ended up at Ross because I'll take a picture of this so Krista can blow it up, but it actually says here, in all the credits that are on this shirt, it actually says Tobe Hopper. Not Tobe Hooper.
Dennis Hopper's cousin.
I guess so.
I guess.
Who knew they were related?
Yeah. So, and if anybody doesn't know what Ross is, if you don't have a Ross, it's a discount store like TJ Maxx or TK Maxx if you're in Europe.
Yeah.
Any of those things where it's the shit that couldn't sell or had mistakes on it. Yep. So it ends up at Ross. And he didn't notice that at first.
Right, yeah.
It took you a while to notice it, which is pretty funny. But, so, yeah. Watch your shirts when you buy them from Ross, kids. So anyway, we're going to do Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And like I said, it was director Tobe Hooper.
Yes.
Not Hopper.
Not Hopper. And
you might also know him as the director of the amazing Poltergeist.
Yes.
So, yay, us. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go through a bunch of facts today because I spent all day doing research and I want to bring you the facts.
Jack.
It is a fact, Jack. So, here we go.
All right.
So first I'm going to go through just... Most people have seen this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, go see this movie. There's going to be a huge amount of spoilers.
Oh, yeah, because if you haven't seen this by now, guys, come on now. Turn this off, go watch it, and then come back.
And then tell us what you thought of it.
Yes.
So, okay, here we go.
All right.
They're just going for a little drive. They're in Texas. They're in a town that's a little bit south of Austin that does exist. And... they're just going to...
Well, they have a purpose for the trip.
Yeah?
They're going because of the grave desecrations that are happening. They're going to check on one of Sally and Franklin's relatives.
Yes.
That's buried at one of the cemeteries that was vandalized.
It was vandalized. So, yeah, they're heading out on this trip. Now, I just want to point out in that cemetery, I noticed today that one of the headstones, the last name was Pickle. Mm. Pickle, yep. Like as in dill. Yeah. I was like, man, that sucks for that person, you know. But my mom knew somebody with the last name of Pickle Hyman. Something like this. Pickles, I don't know, it's Pickle Hyman. So anyway.
That's pretty bad.
I know.
You know what the worst pickle brand has got to be? Vlasic. It sounds like part of like a sex organ or something.
Well, it sounds like flaccid.
I gotta check your Vlasic.
Doesn't it sound like flaccid?
It totally does.
My flaccid pickle? Yeah, it's bad news. So they're going to this town. It's hot as balls, hence the summer theme in this.
Yes.
And it was actually filmed in August. It takes place in August. It's miserable in August, especially in Texas.
Yeah.
It's humid in December in Texas, let alone August. Glad we didn't move there.
Yeah.
Sorry, but if you live there.
Dodge that bullet.
Yep. This little trip is a couple, and there is one more dude, and then Franklin, right?
Yeah, so Sally and whatever her boyfriend's name is. The astrology chick, whatever her boyfriend's name is, and Franklin.
And Franklin. Yeah, there you go. Franklin, if you don't know, in this movie, he is the brother who is in a wheelchair. We don't know what his situation is, assuming he's paralyzed. He got stuck with a shitty wheelchair, though.
Yes.
And he is, well, you can't say fifth wheel because he's not a camper, but he's the third wheel in this, and it shows, and I feel bad for him. Except he's a little annoying, too.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about that is, in the behind-the-scenes stuff, it kind of seems like that actor, whatever. I don't remember names of actors, but he kind of realized it was an annoying character and sort of leaned into it.
Yeah.
Was what I got from that interview, which I thought was kind of funny because, he did a good job.
Well, and normally that's the person that you're like, yes, please die, because you're so annoying.
Right.
But at the same time, he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, so you
don't want to feel like a dick and say something like that.
Exactly.
So as they're driving along, they pick up the most annoying character in this entire movie, the hitchhiker.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a different name for him. That's what he is in the cast list. He's the hitchhiker. I'm like, you couldn't give him a first name. But no, he's a hitchhiker. Yeah. And he's a wackadoo. Today, I think in our world, it would be like he's a meth head. That's tweaker, he's a tweedler.
Tweedler,
So they pick him up, and like I said, it's hot as balls. So now there's another body in this it's not even a VW bus. It's just a van. It was actually one of the production guys' vans. And he's a wackadoo. He's weird. He has a rubber face, as I like to refer to it, kind of like Jim Carrey, where it can be contorted so easily. He's covered in blood.
Yeah.
And they had just passed a slaughtering house, whatever, for cows. And so it's assumed that, that's where he works. And they were like, so, do you work at this? And he said, nope. Yeah, so he doesn't work at the slaughterhouse, so why does he have blood all over him? That's one.
Right.
Two, he's got a camera.
Yep.
And in the beginning of this movie, there's a bunch of still photos of rotting bodies. And so later on, I put two and two together. That's got to be his pictures,
Right.
But while they're in the van, he's just talking weird shit the whole time. And Franklin's kind of engaged with him because nobody else is. So, and he takes out these photos out of these pouch that he has, and he's like, yeah, see, this is what I've done at the slaughterhouse. He takes Franklin's knife, he cuts himself, he cuts at Franklin.
Yeah.
And then after he takes Franklin's picture, which is weird, then he burns it.
Yeah.
And so then they kick him out.
Right.
And I was fine with that.
And he smears blood on the side of the van.
And then they have to stop at a gas station. Now, I don't understand why so many movies that start off okay, somebody's on a road trip, on a vacation, everybody has to stop at the gas station.
Yeah.
The tiniest gas station on earth and the creepiest. And then they bring out the gimp to wash the windshield. I don't understand that ever. But anyway, that's what they're doing. They're pulling over, but there's no gas. He doesn't have any gas.
Right.
So, but Franklin says, hey, do you know about this house up the road? And he said, this is where I got a little, I don't know. If you know the answer, let me know. But I'm pretty sure both of them said the old Franklin house. I went back and watched this today, played it like 4 times at full blast, really tried to make sure I'm hearing what I'm hearing. And so I think that's what they said. I couldn't find any answer online about this, hence why I had to bust out the DVD again. Right. But that would be weird because the Franklin house is his grandfather's or grandparents' house.
Yeah.
And now his dad owns it. So if they have the same family name, He would be Franklin Franklin.
But we know that their last name's Hardesty. So.
I know, but it's funny to me. So I'm just like.
So it's probably their mom's parents.
But why was his dad own the house?
Because he's the man, and it was 1974.
Oh, that's right.
In Texas.
That's right. I'm the man. I'm gonna own this goddamn house. So anyway, let me know if you know any differently than hearing Franklin in that, because it's just kind of weird that they would even use the same
Twice,
name.
yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it's strange. But anyway, so then they offer up, the guy's like, here, do you want some barbecue?
Right.
And, you know, there was a time, and there still is, even in the Midwest, where gas stations have food.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them, it's good.
Yeah.
But I have to say, from my experience on the West Coast, gas stations are not where you get food.
Oh, yeah, you don't, no. Midwest, it's okay. Casey's, Quick Trip, my Midwest people know what I'm talking about.
Come and Go. Don't forget Come and Go.
I never buy food from Come and Go.
I know, but I like saying it because it's funny. It's Come and Go. So anyway, yeah, they get some barbecue, which looks a little iffy. Franklin's munching on like a sausage at some point, and
hanging out of his mouth like a turd.
Yeah, like he's just like smoking a sausage, and I'm like, it looks like a wiener. It looks like a cooked up wiener, but whatever. So yeah, they finally get to the house, and it is of course a big dumperoni.
Yeah.
And it's dilapidated, should have been torn down a long time ago. But they still go and decide to explore.
Yeah.
And then the first couple decides to go and, I don't know, probably hump over in the watering hole.
Yeah.
But they get a little distracted.
Yeah.
And so they start going towards the sound. They find a generator. And then they find the house.
Yeah, because they're still kind of looking for gas, too,
yeah.
At the same time as all this is going on.
And they're probably thinking generator, gas.
Yeah.
Now, just a thought on that one, by the way. He said he doesn't have any gas at the gas station.
Right.
But yet the generator had gas.
Right.
So I don't quite get that one.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. Obviously, it was a lie.
Yes.
It was a fib.
Yes.
Or a fibber. So they, you know, this is where, once again, this shit hits the fan.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a great sequence, though, that bears talking about, because the first guy goes in, and like characters, the only really relevant characters are the family and Franklin and Sally. So whatever that particular gentleman's name is in the movie, I don't remember off the top of my head, even though I've seen this movie like a million times.
It was Kirk and Pam.
There you go, Kirk and Pam.
Captain Kirk and Pam.
There you go. So Captain Kirk, goes into the house, boldly going where no man's gone before. And there's this one of the best scenes and the most iconic scenes in the movie happens at this point. Leatherface comes out, smacks him over the head with the hammer, drags him through this door, and then slams this metal door shut. Fantastic scene there. And this whole sequence. Then Pam goes in, looks around, sees all this messed up stuff they've got, all this Ed Gein shit that's going on in the house. Then she gets chased by Leatherface. She almost makes it out the door, but he grabs her and pulls her back in. And that's just that whole sequence is just really fantastic.
And then he hangs her on a meat hook.
Hangs her on a meat hook, yeah. And that whole sequence is just fantastic because it's just the fact that it happens in broad daylight.
And fast.
Yeah, and fast. And it has to be one of the first movies that I can remember seeing where scary shit is going on during the day, and it's just like you're not safe even during the day, which I think is...
It's a good point to make.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So in the Ed Gein shit he's referring to is there's just animal feathers, bones, lampshades and shit made out of skin, and they're assuming animal skin, I'm assuming, at the beginning of this. So, okay. So they don't come back, though.
Right.
Another dude goes.
Yep.
Another dude doesn't return.
Yep.
So now we're left with Sally and Franklin, who don't have the keys to the van.
Right.
It's dark out. Franklin's in a wheelchair in this rough-ass field.
Yeah.
And, but they decided to go anyway, and risk it. I probably would have just gone out to the main road and walked back, but that's beside the point. Yeah, they decide to risk it and go towards the house. And then go ahead.
And then once again, the shit hits the fan. Franklin gets killed. Leatherface chases Sally. She makes it back to the gas station.
Yeah.
Where she runs into the proprietor of the gas station, which she quickly finds out he's part of this demented family.
Yeah.
And so, he subdues her and takes her back to the house where they're all living.
And she notices when she's sitting there, because she goes in, she doesn't know that he's the bad guy. They met them earlier in the day, whatever.
Right.
But so she's sitting there and he's like, I'm going to go get my truck. And this has been used again in Halloween too.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to go get my truck. You're going to be fine. And then he comes back, not just with his truck, but with a potato sack and a rope.
Yeah.
And she had just looked over in the fireplace where the barbecue's being cooked. And there's a torso in there. And she's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
This isn't good.
Yeah.
This isn't good at all. So he beats the living crap out of her.
Yeah.
Which, another fun fact about this movie is that he actually had to hit her.
Yeah.
It wasn't looking realistic otherwise, so the two actors discussed it. He felt really bad about it, which is surprising because he's creepy looking. He could play Ed Gein later.
Totally could have.
If he was still alive.
Yeah, totally could have.
So, yeah, he beats the crap out of her and puts her in the truck. But he's kind of weird because when the kids all went to the gas station earlier in the day and Franklin asked about the house, he kept saying, oh, you guys don't want to go there. You don't need to go there. So it was like he was really trying to talk him out of it.
Yeah.
So go forward and Sally's in the truck and he's trying to be comforting, but then he keeps hitting her at the same time.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, you don't need to cry. No, bam, and just keeps hitting her. And it's like, he's really torn.
Yeah.
I think he had a little more brain cells than the others. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So anyway, they get back to the house, and then,
of course, you get the iconic dinner scene.
Yeah, Sally is tied to a chair, and I think she was out cold at first, and she wakes up, comes to everything, and the hitchhiker is there, of course, because this is when we start to see, everybody's part of this now.
Exactly.
And so they say, well, go get your grandpa. So he goes upstairs and gets this man who looks like... Sorry, our dog's playing with a toy. Looks like he... I like beef jerky.
Yeah, exactly.
A little like beef jerky. Yeah. And somehow they get him downstairs... And they're having this dinner and taunting her and it's just a whole thing. And apparently it was an incredibly long scene for them to film. It took many, many hours. Yeah. And it was hot. And a lot of the props in this house, the bones and that kind of thing, were real. They did actually come from a cattle farm that was up the road that they did use like a little B-roll of it earlier on. And so the actors are hot, tired, have to smell this stuff. The crew is going outside and yakking and then coming back in, and it's just like a whole thing. Yeah. So it probably added to how shitty you already feel, Yeah. And then I have to act this way as well. Yeah, it just probably helped.
Yeah. Oh, ultimately. Because the madness of that scene is like, it's like the culmination of the movie. It's like, now you're really in it, Yeah. Now you're really in this madhouse.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no escaping.
Yeah.
So, one thing that you'll notice in this is that there is not a woman of the house. There's never really a discussion as to what happened to the mother.
Yeah, Grandma's upstairs. Her corpse is upstairs. They show that briefly. Yeah. But other than that, we don't know much.
Yeah. So this is what's interesting is that Leatherface has 3 masks. He has a kill mask, an older woman mask that has like gray hair, and then one that has a lot of makeup on it, which is, I think, the one a lot of people usually recognize most, aside from his kill mask. I think the middle one, not so much.
Yeah.
But each one of them, like I said, the first one is a kill mask. It is the mask that he puts on to go kill things, blah, blah, blah. One of them is to be like the mother figure, and he puts on a cute apron.
Right.
And he's cooking for the family. And then the one with the crazy ass makeup, that's when he puts on a suit.
Yeah.
So, but here's my question though, is one of those faces, and nobody has answered this, not even the director, by the way, but is one of those faces his mom's?
Right.
You know, I mean, you have to wonder.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, I mean, she's not there.
Right.
So where is she? And I know that in a later version of this movie, they brought in a whole story for her and all this stuff. And it's like, nah, we don't care about that.
Yeah.
But what we do care about is the fact that she's not there now.
Right.
So, a little crazy. So then, Sally gets free.
Yeah. They're trying to kill her.
Well, yeah, that's why, yeah, obviously.
They're trying to kill her. They're trying to have Grandpa whack her over the head with a hammer, but he's too old and decrepit to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So at that point, while they're screwing around with that, she's able to get away.
Yeah. So she goes running. Now, this is an interesting thing that I don't quite know how to feel, because you don't really know specific timelines. You know that when Sally and Franklin go to find their friends, it is dark outside.
Yeah.
Like all the way dark, and you can't see without a flashlight dark.
Right.
So, but when Sally comes running out of the house, it is dawn. So we're assuming that one, they had already been looking pretty late in the evening, and then all of the chaos that went on between, because who knows how far out she, or how long she was out for.
Right.
You know, so she could have been out for a long time, and because I mean they got to make a nice meal.
That's right.
You know, it's not a 20-minute process.
No.
So once again, it brings it back to, you're not safe even during the daytime, because here it was another beautiful day when they go running out of the house, and you've got Leatherface going and the hitchhiker going and trying to get her, and thank God the hitchhiker gets hit by a truck or something.
Yeah.
I cheered for that one. I was like, thank God, I hated him. So, and then Leatherface continues to chase her around.
Right.
And
she gets in the back of a pickup and gets away.
yeah, but at first she gets into a semi
Oh, yeah.
where the driver gets out, runs around the front, and then runs off.
In the opposite direction.
Yeah, I'm like, you could have just pushed the gas pedal, bro,
Yeah,
and could have gone.
Yeah.
So that was a little weird.
That's very weird, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
So, but yeah, she eventually gets into the back of a pickup and is just hysterical
yes.
and exhausted.
Yes.
And I learned later that she had to refilm that scene. So what that meant, though, was that they were wearing the same clothes the entire shoot during the middle of August in Texas, where there's no air conditioning. And she had to put on those same dirty clothes to do that last scene. And now I think about it when I look at her, I'm like, I'd be hysterical too.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know it just smells like ass
Yeah.
and tuna fish.
Yeah.
So,
and then, Then we get Leatherface's famous chainsaw dance at the end there, so.
Yeah.
Ends on an iconic note.
There it is, right here on the shirt.
Yep,
there it is. Whee! By Toby Hopper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is iconic. Everybody knows that scene very well. It's a little ridiculous.
Right.
Because it's like, he's having like a temper tantrum.
I was going to say, and that's the thing, is because he's a child, essentially. I mean, that's where he is mentally. He's got the mental capacity of a child. So it makes sense in that respect, I think.
Yeah. So as we mentioned earlier, Ed Gein. If you don't know who Ed Gein is, he was a murdering man back in the, I don't know, it was like the 40s, something like that. I don't remember the specific date. I'll look it up, put it on the screen. There you go. But anyway, so Ed Gein, his story, this is a real story, was that he dug up bodies from a cemetery. He killed 2 women.
Right.
And his mother, okay, well, let me back up a little bit more here. So his father died when he was fairly young from heart failure. Then, this is fun, his brother died in a mysterious fire out in the field. But what's funny is that Ed was like, I don't know where he is. And then the fire's out, and then they find his body.
Oh.
And then they don't investigate it.
Right.
They just decide to call it asphyxiation, and they're done with it.
Yeah, back then you could get away with stuff.
Yeah, you could. You could. But it even says in this information, oh, they didn't do an autopsy. And I'm like, how many did they do?
Right.
Really? I mean...
In the Midwest in,
Yeah.
1940s or 50s.
Yeah,
or I guess
exactly.
it would have been 40s, yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I thought that was interesting because I didn't know about the brother.
Right.
So anyway... But the story with his mom, because she's the last living relative, is that his mom was always a strict, I think she was Lutheran or something like that. She was Christian. We'll just go with that. And super, super strict. Like Carrie's mom strict.
Mm-hmm.
And he essentially later said that she was the love of his life.
Mm.
And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
So anyway... She has 2 strokes and dies from the second one. He's heartbroken. He's, just mortified by this whole thing. But that's where I start to see, obviously, the cemetery of digging up bodies, you start to see similarities.
Right.
And then the mom being, not able to do anything because she had a stroke.
Right.
So, and you got the grandparents upstairs, and so that's interesting.
Right.
But then Ed kind of took it to another level. Apparently when he was growing up, he read a lot of pulp magazines. Mm. And one of them mentioned a war criminal, a Nazi war criminal. And I'm going to attempt to pronounce her name. I think I spelled it right in order for me to be able to pronounce it. But it's Ilse Koch. And it's a weird spelling, obviously, because she's German.
Right.
But... what she had done during the Nazi war was that, and just a little piece of it, there's a bunch of stuff that rumors had spread about. Right. Nobody really knew the facts. But that if there was a prisoner that had a tattoo, she had them killed so she could use their skin to make a lampshade. Mm. Ed Gein, that's what he did, is that he made lampshades out of skin. There's a huge list of things.
Right.
A doorbell nipple thing, mm-hmm. nipple doorbell, and then a nipple belt.
Right.
And just a ton of stuff. It's pretty gross. So you can see where they got the story from, what parts they used. Mm-hmm. They also used Psycho.
Well, yeah. And
that's obvious. I mean, if you know Psycho, he's talking like his mom, because he misses her, mm-hmm. but her corpse is just chilling somewhere, right. And he dresses up like her and things like that. So mm-hmm. it's all borrowed from the same thing.
Right.
So there you go.
So Ed thanks, Ed Gein, for inspiring at least 3 classic horror movies.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. And still, there is not a good movie about him.
Right.
They're all hot garbage.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
And the story is right there.
Yeah, just good actors. We could make a great story out of this. You don't even have to make it crazy. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now that I've brought that up, there's a couple points that I want to bring up about the movie that I just think are interesting. Aside from Ed Gein and Psycho and whatever, where else did all this come from, and how did it inspire other movies and so on and so forth? So I did a little digging, and one of the movies that came to my mind pretty quickly was Deliverance. Mm. And I'm not going to go through the whole story of Deliverance. It doesn't matter. You go watch it if you want to see it, or read the book. But there is a family there that was taunted at one point, and they're a little backcountry, as I don't want to say it in a dickish way, but a little rednecky.
Yeah.
And the famous banjo scene. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have that, and then later on you have The Hills Have Eyes, with a deranged family.
Yep.
So those movies are the 2 closest that I found that were inspired before and after,
right.
So I thought that was interesting. But I also think that not just the fact that they were deranged, but the family dynamic itself, mm-hmm. I think pertains to the Charles Manson family. Mm. Because that was also, I think it was 1969. I'll correct it on, yeah. It was 1969, August of 1969. I'll say that about 40 times. And so there's the crazy family that was real life crazy. So, and with this movie being made in 1974, you have to think and put all of these things together and go, it's got to inspire it. But those Charles Manson family murdery movies wasn't just this. So you have the horrible movie, I Drink Your Blood. I'm sorry if you like it. It's crap. And that was made in 1971. The Last House on the Left aren't necessarily a family of blood relatives, but it's a close-knit group.
Right.
Just like I Drink Your Blood. They're not blood related. Right. But anyway, Last House on the Left was 1972. And then later on you have I Spit on Your Grave, and that's 1978.
Right.
And that one is, a group of townsfolk who own a gas station. By the way. I don't understand why there's so many gas stations in these movies.
Right.
Think about like Friday the 13th.
Right.
Damn gas stations. And they're always telling you to not go.
Right.
There's always something that's saying, I don't know. Well, even in House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yep.
Captain Spaulding tried to get them to not go.
Right.
And they're dumb.
Yes.
So, and then another one that I noticed when I was thinking about all this was the movie that we talked about last week, Visitor Q. And that is, it was a broken family, but they came together and they became a deranged family.
Right.
And so it went all the way out to Japan, essentially, was that theme of a deranged group of people that are families, so on and so forth. So I thought that was really interesting. And the thing I thought about with this was, there's two different ways that this can go. Is it your family itself are the ones with the secrets and that have the problems? Or is it a group that comes from the outside to go in and ruins your family?
Right.
Like Last House on the Left.
Right.
And so I thought that was pretty interesting. Maybe I'm just a dork. I don't know.
No, I think so too.
I think it, if you really want to pick it apart and the psychology of it and all the things that they pulled it from, they didn't have the internet, obviously, to do this. So they had what news was out there.
Right.
So those are my deep thoughts for today on that one. Like I mentioned, House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects were both inspired by this very strongly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You have, like, any of the opening scenes, things like that, all remind you of this, And although I hate the movie, the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre had Bill Moseley in it.
Right.
Ugh.
Chop top.
Yeah, I hate
For a long time, I never knew what his name was in anything. I just always referred to him as Chop Top.
It's just Chop Top. Oh, hey, what's up, Chop Top? How's it going? I see your teeth are better than they were in the movie. But anyway, and then Bill Moseley ultimately ends up later on in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. So, in the movie that we don't speak of.
Yes.
Yeah. There was one more thing that was inspired within all of this chaos. And I didn't know quite how to bring it into our channel because it's not a horror movie.
Right.
It's a funny movie. It's a comedy. It's from the 80s, and it's called Summer School. And if you've ever seen it, Chainsaw and Dave, they love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Chainsaw and Dave, they decide that they want to show the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in class.
Yeah.
And this was the first time I'd ever heard of this movie, was through this. So I thought that was interesting. And they actually are doing it. It's on reel to reel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the 80s.
Right.
So it's reel to reel. And so I'm like, nowadays, I'm like, that would be pretty cool to actually see, like, the gritty version of it, not the so cleaned up version. Right. So they do a whole scene inside the classroom where somebody's just destroyed all these students. And it's amazing makeup.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. And so, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And like I said, that was how I found about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I can't just bring that movie in for anything.
Yeah.
But I thought, okay, we're doing summer and we're doing school's out. So summer school.
I see what you did there. And I liked it.
I'm clever.
I love this movie. Yeah, I mean, everything about it. Like, you know, you're a kid and you hear that title, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you're like, oh my God, what is that? I have to see that movie. And yeah, it lived up to and surpassed my expectations and still does to this day. I just think it's a fantastic movie. I like the fact that it has this reputation of being so gory and violent, but there's really not a lot that you actually see in it. I love that. I love the performances, even though some of the characters are annoying. I like the fact that they leaned into the crazy.
Yeah.
I like the way it just kind of keeps building and building towards the total madness of the dinner scene. I love how Leatherface looks and how he behaves. I think he's a great character, a tragic character in a way. Yeah, everything about this movie I think is fantastic.
I could tell he had a big boner for Leatherface and all that. When we decided to do this video months ago with the lost episode, I had to rewatch it again, of course, because I needed to refresh myself on it. I didn't know enough about it. And then I did it again today, just because I'm old. And I wanted to write even better notes than I did before. So I went ahead and rewatched it again, and like I said, it's growing on me.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I have to see the details when I do these videos. So I get to see all the ins and outs, and which is part of, I think it's probably one of the most fascinating things for me is to, as I've discussed, the behind the scenes, the makeup, all of those things. I want to know all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it actually brings me into like the movie a little bit more when I know those details. I know that's like, you know, people don't want to always know that stuff. They want the magic still there. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I want to know all of it.
Well, I think, like, I know you have appreciation for this too, is that gritty filmmaking, you know, that really down and dirty, you know.
It is.
And I think this movie is kind of the epitome of that. Yeah. You know.
It is. Well, and they intentionally filmed it, I think they said on 16 millimeter, which was the same film that was used documentary style, which was happening a lot because of Vietnam and that kind of stuff. All that footage was used, or it was the same type of film. So they wanted it to have a documentary style, and that's why they would have shots where it was further away and they were through the grass and shit, you know. And so I think that definitely wins me over a little bit more. But the thing, this is going to be dumb, but the thing that I liked most about this movie, okay, was one, the pictures at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Because they look real.
Yeah.
Everything looks very real. It didn't look corny. It was no pink blood, you know, things like that. And then the second opening scene of this, which was the cemetery. And, you know, today I was really paying attention, and I'm like, they don't just quickly show that. They really hold it on there, which, you know, made a lot of people uncomfortable back then. And it looks incredibly real that somebody's just melting away. And it probably smells like ass in the Texas heat. Oh, God. Ugh. So anyway, but so those details I really appreciate. But also the set details. Especially after watching the documentary, you know, all the things about how this was real parts and, you know, and the stench of it and all of that. That wasn't intentional to have it be gross. They just, I don't know if they just didn't know any better. I feel like they did, because one woman was actually a veterinarian assistant. So she actually got dead animals from that. And so, yeah, I think those are the things that win me over, is the attention to detail this movie has. And it doesn't have to be in the kill scenes necessarily, because those are so quick and sudden, it takes your breath out. And that's all it does. and then you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, it's like that part, like I was talking about when when you first see Leatherface and he kills Kirk. Mm-hmm. The first time you see that, it happens so fast. Boom. Slams that door, which is like this slaughterhouse door inside a residence, which is creepy in and of itself.
Yeah.
And you're just like, holy hell, what did I just see, So you're absolutely right about that, for sure.
Well, and I do think that because of where they were in town, and it's supposed to be by the slaughterhouse, that they brought that into their house. Yeah. They intentionally, put metal on that door, and then he had the rubber aprons on.
Yeah.
And those are obviously something that's used in slaughterhouses and that kind of thing. And then they just randomly have meat hooks just hanging in their kitchen. Yeah. So that's interesting in itself. So yeah, I think all of that little stuff, all those little pieces is what made this movie good. Mm-hmm. And as much as I hate the hitchhiker, I can't describe how much I hate him. But as much as I hate him, it was probably the strongest performance in the entire movie. Yeah. And the part that really pulled you in. Because he puts the pieces together ultimately. Right. So, although he's annoying, he is important to this. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And he is the one that was, setting those bodies up at the cemetery and taking those pictures. Mm-hmm. So he brings it together from start to finish. Yeah, absolutely. And then you kind of feel bad for Leatherface because he's left alone. Yeah,
for me it's Leatherface for sure, because Gunnar Hansen just gives him so much personality without saying anything. Mm-hmm. It's not just like some guy lumbering around in a mask. He's this child. Mm-hmm. And he puts so much emotion into that character without saying anything. Yeah, I just think that's a really great performance.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's like you even hear him talk like a child.
Yeah, exactly.
and like whimper like a child. Yeah. So I think that's it is actually a very good movie. But the other part that always turns me off about these movies, how hot it is. You will not hear me say this enough throughout these things. I hate hot movies. They look hot. They are hot. And not in like a sexy hot, like in a temperature. Like I could just picture
sweltering.
Yeah, sweltering heat, and you're sweating, and then dirt's flying on you and sticking to you, and it just grosses me out. Yeah. And after living in Iowa with you for 6 years and dealing with real humidity, I'm like, it's crap in Texas, even worse. So I'm just like, whew. So I have a hard time watching movies where it's in the heat. But because for science, I have to watch it and look at the details, so I just do and ignore that. But then I know, of course, what misery that entire team had to go through to do that, because they actually filmed it in August. Yeah. Why they thought that was a good idea, I don't know. Yeah. I'm like, you could have picked another month out of the year that's not as hot, but still looks hot. Mm-hmm. You could have picked a May, June, somewhere in there would have looked good. Right. Not August. Like the most miserable month of the entire year. Yeah. My most hated month. So, I think that like we said in the beginning, if you haven't seen this, you really need to. And really pay attention to the details. I can't really recommend any of the sequels because they're crap. Yeah, they're... Except the newest one. Oh, yeah. What was that, Netflix? Paramount?
Yeah, Netflix, yeah.
We watched it because we had nothing else to do, and it was when it came out, and it was actually good. It doesn't really it has nothing to do with
it's very loosely tied. There is a connection, but it's pretty small.
You wouldn't need it. Yeah. That's the thing. It's one of those movies, once again, it could stand on its own. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They should have just done its own thing, but they knew the name would bring people in, even though there's like way too many of these remakes. Yeah. They just leave well enough alone. Mm-hmm. But like I said, that second one, that sucks a dick. It's horrible. And Bill Moseley's character is obnoxious. and I can't stand them. So, well, you know what? Actually, I think just now thought about it. You said the cook is in the second one. This is how much I paid attention to. This is horrible. So he didn't get killed in this when Leatherface was out there having a temper tantrum. He wasn't by himself.
True. Yeah.
He still had that guy, probably which was better than the hitchhiker to be around. And then Grandpa, pretty useless.
Yep.
Probably was next week's stew, more than likely.
Probably.
So anyway, I think all in all, it is a good movie. It's a good basis for horror.
Yeah.
And how you can use the environment you're in, and just set design. Mm-hmm. That alone, because as we said, it's not a lot of gore.
Right.
It's just set design and camera situations and things like that. That's all it took. Mm-hmm. That's all it took to make it a good movie.
Yes.
So, anything else you want to say?
No, I think I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyway, we're going to be back next week.
Yeah.
As always. We would like to add in there, which we have not been saying, to please like and subscribe. Please comment down below. Please engage with us.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week. And if your kids are out of school, let them go watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Or don't.
Oh, they'll be deranged.
That's right.
They'll be like the kid that lives behind us. Little Jeffrey Dahmer back there. So, anyway, we'll see you next time. Bye.